Let's talk a little bit about who might be available at number 5 for the Cavs. A guy that kind of jumps off the page immediately, Cam-Reddish, the third of the 3 Duke guys.
Yeah, and he came in with a lot of hype, and a lot of people felt like, Dave, this was going to be a draft that went 1, 2, 3, Duke, Duke, Duke. But it's probably not going to go that way, and that's because Cam just didn't live up to that reputation coming out of high school. This is a guy who's been in the spotlight, Dave, since he was like 14, 15 years old, playing for Team USA. So everybody is aware of what he can be, and they've been talking for years about what he can be. The problem is, Dave, he's never turned into that guy. So I think a lot of people are like, okay, he looks the part, but he doesn't play the part. So why? Is it because he was at Duke and overshadowed by Zion and RJ, and he willingly took a step back because those guys are such dominant personalities and both those guys are alphas and he's not an alpha? Or is it just his nature where he's the kind of guy who looks the part, but he disappoints? He's equal flash and flame. And that's something that the Cavs and other teams around the NBA, Dave, are going to have to figure out throughout this process, because he's 6'8". He has a silky smooth shooting stroke, but the production at Duke and the production even in the high school level, it just never matched his gifts.
On the opposite end of that, you have Jarrett-Culver, who kind of took off with Texas Tech during the NCAAs. What do you see with him?
Well, first of all, he's a great kid. Everybody that I've talked to inside the Cavs organization and just around the NBA, Dave, they talk about how great of a kid he is. You know, he's that first one in the gym, the last one to leave. Everybody at the Texas Tech program has great things to say about him. He came back for his sophomore year. He wasn't really on the lottery radar coming into this year, Dave. He was probably outside the lottery, maybe between 20 and 30. And he worked his way into the lottery. He worked his way probably into the top 5. He rebuilt his jumper. It was a lot better and more reliable this year than it was. He led Texas Tech in scoring, rebounds, assists. He's more polished, I think, as an offensive playmaker than somebody like Cam-Reddish, maybe even somebody like DeAndre Hunter from Virginia. There are questions, I think, about how high his ceiling can actually get. Is this about as good as he can become, or can he get even better at the NBA level when you're talking about having more space out there to operate than what he had at college and Texas Tech? And the other thing that I think the Cavs really like about him, Dave, he's a defender. They don't have enough good defenders. Texas Tech is known for defense.
Another guy that's kind of interesting, Darius-Garland from Vanderbilt, didn't play a lot because of injury, but flashed some skill when he did.
And that goes back to the pre-draft camps, and that goes back to his high school days. Dave, coming into this year, there was legitimate conversation about Garland being the number 1 point guard in this year's class. He didn't get a chance to show that. Ja Morant kind of came out of nowhere. He burst onto the scene, and he took that spot. He's probably going to go number 2 overall. But there are some in the NBA, Dave, that are starting to think that this is not just a 3-player draft, but maybe a 4-player draft because of Garland, even though he only played 5 games at Vandy before hurting his MCL. He's not participating in the combine. He's gone home. That leads people to think that maybe he's got a promise in the top 5 or at least in the top 10. But Dave, I think he's the best pure shooter in this year's class, and the Cavs went into this offseason looking to prioritize shooting, rim protection, and defense. And this kid shoots it as good as anybody in the class, and he shoots it the way that some of these elite guards in the NBA do. Off the dribble, NBA range, coming around pick and roll, feet set, feet not set. So I think this kid, by the end of this process, is going to be looked at a lot differently than where he's being looked at right now.